Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Average Discussion. Thank you for joining me today. Today is, I don't even know what day it is. Let's see. Looks like it's Thursday, June 27th. I should know that because I got a lot of stuff going on today, but I don't. So, here we are. Um, hey, thanks for joining me. This is my podcast. This is my show. This is what I do. This is what I do sometimes. Okay, but this is something that I like to do to just kind of, I don't know, as a hobby, I guess you could say. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today I want to talk about health. First things first, I need to make sure that everybody understands that I am not a doctor. I'm not trying to give you medical advice. I'm just literally talking about it, okay? Um, and just some things that I've kind of come across. So, with that being said, um, some of the things I wanted to talk about was I ended up down this weird like algorithm hole on Instagram Reels where everything was literally coming across. Everything that was coming across was related to like all these poisons we're putting into our body basically. Um, and I ended up down numerous rabbit holes with how simple some of these things are, this and that. And I'm not saying I buy into all that, okay. But what I'm saying is that it sparked my brain, right? And I started thinking about stuff. I started kind of looking into some things, and I started just kind of evaluating my own self. And so as a result of that, I looked at several things. Um, Again, I'm not a medical expert by any means. I'm not saying that any of this is accurate. I'm not saying that you should do any of these things. I'm merely just trying to talk about them and really just kind of get some feedback on what some people think about it, right? And so I'm going to kind of highlight a few things that one I'm trying, and I'll kind of get into why I'm trying them here in a minute. Um, but things that I'm trying, and then just some general observation stuff. Again, please do not take this as any kind of solid advice. Okay, this is literally just conversation. So I think if people approach it with that, we can probably have a good conversation. But again, I am not saying that any of this stuff works and that there's not flaws in any of this stuff or anything like that. Okay, it's just general observation, things I've been able to find. So the reason I wanted to look into this is because, well, it's no hidden fact that we get older, right? And I'm 36 right now. I'll be 37 this year. Um, and overall, I'd say I'm in pretty good health. Okay, I don't really feel like I've got a whole lot of craziness going on. And I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape. Like, I mean, I could be in better shape for sure, but I feel like I'm in pretty decent shape. Um, I tend to, I think I've gained maybe about 10 to 15 pounds since high school. Um, and I wouldn't say that it's like unhealthy gained either. I think I was probably a little underweight before, but, or the weight has just changed. But, I'm 6 foot tall and I just weighed myself this morning and I'm at 200 pounds. And I usually fluctuate between 195 and 205, just depending on, season and activities and, you know, diet. Sometimes I embellish in the junk food a little bit more than I probably should. But then there's times where it's like just high activity and I lose a lot of that, right? So, it usually fluctuates between the 195 to 205 range over the course of a year. You know what I mean? It's not like drastic. I'm not going to weigh in at 190 pounds tomorrow type thing. It's just it usually fluctuates in that range, plus or minus here or there, right? Um, I think when I was in the army, my average was about 185 to 195. So since then, I've obviously kind of increased that. But again, I don't feel unhealthy. I don't feel like it's causing me any problems, and I wouldn't say that I'm overweight. Um, I mean, here, for those of you watching the video, I'll stand up. So a little bit of stuff there. But overall, like I wouldn't say I'm in super bad physical shape. It could definitely be better, but it's definitely not the worst, right? And so, but I do try to focus on my health, right? My dad, he passed away at the age of 41 from a massive heart attack, and from what I understand, this is all secondhand knowledge that I got. Um, he had cholesterol issues and extremely high triglycerides. My uncle informed me that, to the best of his knowledge, my dad's levels were in like the 800 range on that scale at that time, which is really high. Um, So I've been checking that. I've been getting my stuff checked, but it's a looming fear of mine. You know what I mean? And so far, everything looks fine. I've had blood work done. Everything looks fine. Um, but to say that it's not in the back of my mind would be a lie, right? And so, as a result of that, I've kind of been trying to be more cautious and aware of what I'm doing, health wise. Um, by far, I would say the biggest obstacle that I have with my health is that I smoke, and I know that's a huge problem. And I've tried to quit a couple times, and I don't know, it just never really goes through. I'll do good for 2 3 days, and then pick it back up, and then it always seems like when I do pick it back up, I'm picking it up even more, at least initially, right? Like, I don't really know how to explain it. It's definitely my biggest flaw. It's definitely the one thing that I feel like I've tried to set my mind to and haven't been able to accomplish. That's just the reality of it, and I don't condone it. I don't think that anybody should start doing it. But the reasons I think that it's unsuccessful is because I use it as a way to, I guess you could say, kind of get my own time, if that makes sense. Um, it kind of gets me out of everything. I'm sorry, I'm at home. You guys can hear everything going on. Summertime, kids are at school. But, it gets me away from everything, and it's kind of been like, I don't know, my way of doing that. And I need to find better avenues to do that, and I don't think I've done that. So I think until I'm able to do that, I'm not going to have much success. I'm not interested in medications and things like that to try to stop, because I just feel like that's detrimental to you as well. But definitely probably not to the same level. That's fair. My doctor asked me if I'd considered vaping, and I was like, why would I give up one bad habit for another bad habit? And she said something that was kind of made sense. And she said, well, it's probably not good for you, but it's probably better than what you're doing. And I was like, that's probably true. But I've talked so much crap on people who vape that I don't think that I can do that and be able to walk the streets. You know what I mean? But anyways, that's that. So I do know that that's a huge problem. But overall, I'd say my health is probably pretty good. And I could definitely exercise a little bit more. I do a lot of walking. A lot of that's in nature of my job. Um, my job requires me to do a lot of walking, and so as a result, I get a lot of walking in. I like to go around walks around the neighborhood. I like to go hiking. I don't do much running anymore these days, but I spent just under 10 years doing a lot of running. Um, so it kind of pays off, I guess. I don't do a lot of weight training. I'll do push-ups, some air squats, things like that. But I'm not a gym rat. I don't do that. I probably should, to be fair. But it's kind of one of those things where I'm reaching this stage where I'm not sure if I've actually got. And there's a meme out there that really touched home. And it was like, I'm not sure if I've got an injury or if this is just the way things are now. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like, I'm feeling some changes here and there, joint stiffness, things like that. And I do have some lingering injuries from my time in the Army, and I know that's playing a role. I know that my job, in essence, also probably plays a role. It can be pretty physical at times. It's not always bad, but it has its moments where it can be extremely physical, and I know that that's probably playing a role in some of the aches and pains, especially that I feel, right? But one of the biggest things that I think I've started to notice is just I have a lack of energy, a lot more. I get tired easier, and some of that might just be because my life's kind of slowed down and maybe I'm adjusting to it. I'm not really sure, but either way, these reasons I've just kind of started looking at things, right? And again, I've gone to the doctor and everything looks fine, right? All my panels are reading normal and like everything's good to go, right? I had this issue like 2 years ago, roughly, where I thought I was having some heart issues, and I actually went to the ER, and just turned out to be stress and anxiety apparently. So, but everything that they tested, everything looked fine. So I don't know. I'm just more aware of it, and as a result, I've started kind of, just trying to research some things, and I see all the ideas that the people put out there, right? Especially on social media, they're everywhere. And I just kind of look into some of that stuff, and at the end of the day, and I know a lot of times they try to sell that stuff to us as like it's these miracle situations and cure alls. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the case at all. Uh, all I'm hoping to get is something that can maybe improve some quality in some realm, right? Like I'm not expecting anything that I find on any of these articles or any of these videos to just completely and change my entire life and how I feel. But if there's a possibility that it could have some positive influence, then sure, why not, right? And one of those things that I've done in the past, and I'm gonna start doing it again. I actually just started it this morning. Was the apple cider vinegar and water, right? And so what I was doing before that worked really well, I thinned out a lot at the waist. Um, it was 2 tablespoons mixed into a glass of water every morning on an empty stomach. I did that, and to be fair, I don't know if it was. To be fair, there was a lot of factors because at that time I was drinking a lot of Monster energy drinks, right? I was having probably anywhere from 2 to 4 a day. Um, Definitely not healthy, right? But that was my life. I was drinking a lot of those. And at that same time, I'd kind of cut that out, okay? Because again, I'd had that heart issue. Well, what I thought was a heart issue. And so I was super paranoid about it. And, I cut back on that stuff a lot. I mean, to this day, if I have one, it's one. And that's that. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say that I even have them every single day. Some weeks it's more than others, but I've cut back on those a lot and for months at a time. So I really did good work on that. But so I don't know if that played a role, which I'm sure it did. Okay, but how much that played a role, I'm not really sure. But how much the apple cider vinegar played a role, again, I don't know, right? But the thing is that I did genuinely feel better for the most part, right? And I was also taking garlic cloves, and I would smash it up, and I would basically swallow it down like a pill. I was doing that in the morning too, and between those two things, I genuinely felt a little bit better. Um, I felt like I don't really have stomach issues, but I felt like everything was kind of passing through a little bit easier, and I don't know. I don't know how much of that is just related to diet change, right? Because I changed my diet a little bit, not a lot, because I wouldn't say I ever really ate like junk. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a huge fast food guy. Um, Obviously through nature of the beast, I got 3 kids and they're all active in sports. So we do a lot of traveling around and stuff like that. So it's inevitable eventually at some point we do eat like fast food and things like that, but it's not like a staple. You know what I mean? If anything, the biggest thing that I probably do is pizza, which I don't. We might do that 2 3 times a month. Um, we do eat at restaurants, but in terms of like fast food, it's pretty minimal. Like I don't do a lot of that. Um, so I wouldn't say that I've had like super massive gut problems, but what I will say is I did notice some. I don't want to say improvement because again I don't feel like I really had a problem, but improvement, for lack of a better phrase, in terms of my digestive system. Um, I don't know. So again, I don't think it's going to cure anything, but if it's a added benefit in some regard, then hey, I don't really see the point. It's kind of nasty, it takes some getting used to, but I don't know if you just down it and get it over with. It's not that bad. But so just to kind of highlight some of that, right? So one of the things just some benefits that pop up, right? And it says has many potential's a key word, by the way. I want to highlight that potential health benefits, including weight loss, digestion, cholesterol levels, gut health, antibacterial, and detoxification. Okay, so again, these are potential. There's not any definitive evidence that they're spot on going to do any of these things. But again, if they're potential, that means that people have looked into it, and there probably just isn't enough to study it, right? Which that gets brought up a lot. That there's not enough study data to really back up any of these things, right? So is it working? I don't know. Maybe not. They don't really know, and they've got bigger things to do, right? So perhaps it's one of those situations where, they're just not interested in studying that enough because they're working on other stuff. I don't really know, Point being is that a lifestyle change can have a huge impact, you know. So I'm gonna just go off of what I've been able to observe personally, right? Which is, if I understand correctly, is kind of how science is, right? You observe things, right? To an extent. I get there's more to it than that, so please don't crucify me. But all I'm saying is that it's our observations, right? And so here's what I've been able to observe. Don't mind the squeaky chair. Uh, my wife's grandmother is 80 plus years old. Her husband, partner, whatever they want to call it, is roughly around the same age. Um, when I tell you that those two are in remarkable shape for being 80 years old, I'm not even joking. You know, she's probably gonna be pissed about this, but my mother is arguably in worse shape, and she's, you know, almost 30 years younger or 20 years younger, right? Um, and I attribute that to two things. One, portion control, because I wouldn't say diet, because like they'll eat pizza and stuff like that. They probably just don't eat the amount, right? But portion control. I think they do more cooking from home, obviously. Um, and then movement. Movement is, you know, they're always out walking. They're always out doing stuff. And I think that that's what it is, man. Like I saw this documentary one time, and it was looking at stuff like longevity. And I went to this place in Japan. I don't know. I don't know the exact location, so bear with me. But and basically, they were looking for these superfoods that keep people alive or whatever, right? And though that was the basis of it, what I was able to observe from that documentary, it was lifestyle, it was movement, right? And so, you know, they showed these pictures of these old Japanese ladies that were constantly getting up from the floor level, right? We're not talking a chair where it's assisted and things like that. I mean, literally from the floor to standing. And I would venture to say that there's probably a large amount of, you know, middle-aged Americans that can't do that, let alone older people, right? And so movement, man, movement I think is key. You know, again, I don't do a lot of exercise, but I feel like I'm able to maintain where I'm at because I do a lot of walking. Um, you know, and hopefully I can continue to do that. You know, some of the issues that I feel like I'm having right now are joint pain related. Um, and so hopefully I'm able to continue to do that because I really do believe that that's a key factor in extending it, right? You know, I saw another thing that was suggesting that like squats, building your thigh muscles is imperative to longevity because it affects your mobility. And if you don't have mobility, you don't get out, you don't do things, you don't socialize, and next thing you know, that's when diseases start to creep in because nothing's flowing, nothing's moving. So I don't know. But anyways, back to the whole thing. Yeah, I really do believe that, and those are the two things that I've been able to observe from her grandparents, right? And then looking at the people around me who are older, who are starting to get older in age, right? And seeing the differences and seeing that, okay, well, here's this couple that's 80 years old that's you know, they're not going to run a marathon, but they're moving, right? And their weight's under control. They don't appear to have severe issues. They are concerned about some of the mental stuff, like your cognitive issues, like dementia and stuff. But in terms of like physical ailments, they don't appear to be like super sick or anything like that all the time. So I really attribute that to just movements and portion control, obviously, because they're not burning out. You know, I used to tell people all the time that I was a firm believer that you can eat all the crap you want as long as you're burning it off. You're gonna maintain or lose weight. You know, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be healthy from what you're eating, but you're not gonna go obese. And I based that off of the massive amounts of just shit that I would eat during my time in the army. But we would ruck all the time. We would have, you know, lack of sleep, lack of hydration, you know, and you're just constantly moving and you just burn everything off. And I think that that's the basis of it, right? And so it's like obviously you want to eat better so that the stuff you're ingesting into your system, you know, isn't killing you over time. But at the end of the day, if you want to lose weight, you got to move, right? And I don't know. That's my personal opinion on it. And I'm basing that off of my own personal experiences in life, right? And so I really think that that's the key. But back to the apple cider vinegar thing. I don't know if it's going to do anything. And like I said, when I did this the last time, there was a lot of factors, and that's why I'm kind of interested to see what it does now, because I think I'm going to maintain pretty much where I'm at with my diet. I am going to try, I do try to eat a little better, but I've been doing that for a while now. So I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see if I have similar results, because like I said last time, I was doing this stuff and I was like, man, I'm really thinning out at the waist and this and that. This is great, right? But there was other factors involved. So we'll see how it goes this time. I don't know. Kind of curious. Let me know what you guys think. But those are some of the suggested stuff. And mind you, again, there's plenty of articles that say there's not been enough research concluding any of this. So, and I agree with that. So I'm not saying that any of this stuff that it says it can do, the weight loss, the digestion, cholesterol, all those things. I'm not saying that that's fact and that it works. All I'm saying is it's been suggested. There's enough testimonials to kind of back it up. The question is, how much of that can you trust, right? Or how many people are doing it for publicity stunts and things like that, right? But that's pretty much the biggest thing that I'm adding to it. But as a result of that, I started looking into other things too, right? And I know water is an interesting one to me. So I'm doing this experiment right now. And I say experiment, but I have no idea what I'm even trying to figure out. I'm just really trying to figure out if I feel or notice anything different. But I'm taking water and I'm boiling it in a big 12-quart stainless steel pot. And I'm transferring that to a glass, fluid dispenser, basically. I just want to see if it, one, tastes better. Two, if I feel any kind of difference from drinking it. And it sits at room temperature. So I'm going to try to keep it at room temperature and drink it that way. But then I took 3 mason jars and I put tap water in it, filtered water from my fridge, and then some of this boiled water. And I'm just going to observe it for the next day or two and just see if anything crazy kind of comes out. I'm just curious more than anything, right? Because if there's one thing I do believe, it's that we're ingesting a lot of stuff that I'm not saying is malicious in the sense of like people are intentionally doing it, right? I think it's just a byproduct of the way we've come up with these things to be able to transport it. I mean, if you really look at it, the fact, running water is, we take it for granted, right? And to criticize the methods that were put in place to deliver that to your home, I think is a little messed up, right? Now, is that to say that it can't be improved, or that there shouldn't be, things that we can learn over time that we apply to that? No, absolutely not. We should continue to improve upon it. All I'm saying is I'm not gonna beat down and blame governments or corporations for how that stuff is delivered, because the truth of the matter is we take it for granted. But in terms of like skin conditions, right? There seems to be some pretty good evidence to suggest that a lot of it could be because of the water coming out of our taps, right? You're showering in it, you're bathing in it, all those things. And then when you start thinking about chlorine, which is used to treat the water all over the place, right? Like the massive amounts of it. And then the corrosion and buildup that goes into the pipes and how that transfers into the water, right? I think it's fair to say that we're ingesting a lot of stuff that's probably not helpful to us. But to what extent is it really bad, I think is really the question. And I haven't done enough research on that to comment either way. All I'm saying is I think that there's a pretty fair chance that what we're ingesting is probably not the best for us, but it's definitely better than if we didn't have it. I will say that. We're not walking to the river for water every day, guys. So let's take some of that with a grain of salt before we start pointing fingers at everybody and judging and being belittling people. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's my way. But as I was saying, like, because of these things that I've been looking into, I kind of came across some other stuff, right? And one of them that really caught my eye was fasting. And the reason it caught my eye, this is the reason why it caught my eye, is because if anybody who knows me or has listened to the show knows that I'm very interested in religious practices, but primarily like older ones, right? And one thing that I've seen to be kind of a common practice amongst a lot of these faiths and religions in the world is fasting, right? It's a normal thing. I mean, and they do it on like an annual basis a lot of times, or specific time frames, right? And so that was interesting to me. And so check this out. This is what I found. It said 24-hour fast can have many health benefits, including weight loss, improved insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular health, brain function, metabolism, reduced diabetes risk, cancer protection, improved immune function. Okay, and that's based off a 24-hour fast. These are some of the things that they say uh, can help, right? Let me find the other picture. Sorry, guys. I took screenshots so I could do it, but I'm recording with my phone. So here we go. But I thought I got one for the 3-day benefits. Hold on one second. Oh, here we go. All right, so fasting for 3 days, 72 hours, may have many health benefits, including cognitive function, weight loss, heart health, inflammation, immune system, and even cancer protection. Okay, and so that's interesting to me because, again, like I said, it's been a practice through a lot of cultures throughout history, right? And so um, I always looked at it as this is a practice of their religion, right? And so like that's why they were doing it, but I just wonder how much of that could be because they understood the benefits of it from a health perspective. I don't know, right? But interesting nonetheless. Now, there's obviously a lot of arguments against it, but there's also a lot of support for it from what I could tell based off articles I found on Google. Okay, I'm not going to say that I went to a university and talked to them, okay? Um, but it seems to be like it's not something that they don't suggest. They just suggest that you don't do it all the time and that you do it properly, right? Um, I don't know, but I find this stuff interesting because I don't know about you, but I feel like excuse me, this happens every time I go to record. I have no build up until I start recording, but I don't know about you, but I feel like there's been a huge push to increase activity and exercise, right? Like it's I want to say it's new, but you got all those programs from the 70s or 80s where they're in those weird outfits dancing on trampolines and stuff, right? So it's like been a thing for a very long time. And yet, according to CNN, preliminary data from 2022 shows oh no, I gotta come back to this because this is about something else. Okay, so obesity rates, right? And this is what's interesting to me because, like I already outlined, I feel like there's been a huge push for this stuff for a very long time now, and yet, overall obesity rates in the U.S. This is according to Harvard. Okay, obesity rates have been since 20. Oh my goodness, obesity rates in the U.S. have stayed steady since 2003. Obesity rates have continued to climb in men, non-Hispanic black women, and Mexican American women. If U.S. trends continue unabated, by 2030, estimates predict that roughly half of all men and women will be obese. Okay, so that's interesting to me considering, like I said, I feel like there's been this huge push for physical activity, and I don't know, it just feels like everybody who lives around me is an outdoorsy person, and maybe that's just testament to where I live, right? But I feel like they're active. I feel like they're getting out there, and I know there's this huge push to it. I know companies are rewarding employees for health milestones, right? Like there's this, and yet it still seems to be a problem, and this is where I kind of get back to like I think a lot of what we're ingesting is probably not good for us, man. But at the same time, and I want to highlight this too, at the same time, I don't know what else to do, right? We got a lot of people to feed. And though some of this can be excluded, don't get me wrong, I don't know how else to feed all these people, right? And we can't say things like just everybody find their own stuff because that's not a reality for a large portion of the population, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to throw that out there. That though I think it's a problem, I don't think that it wasn't the best solution at the time, and I think we just need to continue to refine it and actually acknowledge it, right? But this is where my conspiracy side comes in, and I think that'll never happen because of profits, right? I don't know. But it says that people who consume 10% more ultra processed foods than others in the study had a 23% higher risk of head and neck cancer and a 24% higher risk of, I'm going to butcher this, esophageal adenocarcinoma, a type of cancer that grows in the glands that line the insides of organs. Okay, and that was a CNN article. And the reason I brought that up is because that was something that I found interesting too, right? Is that there appears to be increased rates of cancer, especially in young adults, right? In a disturbing worldwide trend, new cancer cases among young people have been increasing sharply. Early onset cancers, defined as cancer cases diagnosed in people under 50, increased globally by a staggering 79%. And this was as of April 18th, 2024, another CNN article, okay? And so the reason, like, that's all I can think, right? Now, my conspiracy side thinks that some of that might be a lot to do with Wi-Fi type stuff, right? I'm not smart enough to understand that, but it does seem to go hand in hand. That's all I'm saying. But either way, like, our food is what I've seen probably the most about cancer causing foods, right? And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me because we should, based off of all these things that have been pushed on us for so many years now, we should be getting healthier. And it appears like we're not, right? Even though I genuinely feel like people are more active than they used to be, and in large numbers, we still don't appear to be getting anywhere, you know? And this is insane to me because, like I said, I'm 36, and there's days where I feel like I'm much, much older. And that's probably normal. And I know that I've got some wear and tear and miles on me from things that most people don't have to deal with, right? So I understand that's going to play a role to some degree. But illnesses, like, I don't feel sick. You know, I have my seasonal colds, my seasonal man colds where I shut down, right? But I can't recall like the last time I was like deathly ill. Yeah, I don't know. You know, in 2020, supposedly I had COVID. My wife had it, and I just felt extremely fatigued. So I went and got tested because it was during the time when she still had it, and they said I had it. But outside of that, fatigue was all I had. Right? I think I've had like 2 fevers in 4 years, so not a lot of sickness there. I haven't thrown up since I quit drinking in 2016. Bowel movements are pretty normal. You know, if I eat crap food, it's usually not that great, but and that's what it gets back to me, right? And it's strange to me because I have 2 siblings. They're both half siblings, but they're both late 20s. I think my brother will be 30 this year. Yeah, if I recall correctly, there's a 7-year difference between us. He's had issues with his heart, where he had to go to the hospital. Apparently, that was because of a diagnosis of COVID, from what I understand. That was recently. My sister, hopefully she doesn't get mad for sharing this, but my sister has non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That came on. I don't know when that came on for her, but she informed me of it this year. And again, they're both younger than me, and that worries me. You know, and this might hurt their feelings a little bit, but I don't mean for it to. The only thing I can attribute to is they don't move. They don't move around enough. Like, my brother's overweight, my sister's overweight. They're not. Their weight is the biggest problem, in my opinion. That's my opinion, and again, I'm not saying that to be rude to them. That's just the only observable thing that I can see, right? Because I arguably have worse habits, and so it's strange to me, and it's concerning. It's concerning for me. So I don't know, but so I think a lot of this is what we're ingesting, man. I really do. And according to CNN, preliminary data from 2022 shows that foodborne illnesses in the United States have risen again. The CDC says that illnesses from salmonella, I'm gonna butcher this one, guys, Campylobacter, Shigella, and Listeria were similar to the yearly averages from 2016 to 2018. The CDC attributes the rise to a number of factors, including the end of pandemic interventions, increased international travel, and more advanced screening and testing methods that provide quicker results. So basically, from what it sounds like, it could have been higher the entire time, but now we're just better about finding it. So interesting, But processed foods have been linked to, where did it go? A plethora of problems, right? Where was that one at? Yeah, so people who consume 10% more ultra processed foods than others in the study had 23% higher risk of head and neck cancer, right? Now, there's still, the article did say that there's still a lot of research to be done, but that's the initial kind of things, right? And so when you look at some of these other things, and especially if you watch any of those rabbit hole videos, right? They say that the food's probably the biggest cause of a lot of these symptoms, right? A lot of these issues. And again, I don't know how much of that's true, okay, but maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're on the right path. They just maybe don't have all the right information. Maybe, I don't know. But point being is that I looked at it like this, and this is kind of how I explained it to my son yesterday. I think it was. I was like, I'm trying not to be critical, but I understand why doctors can't come out and suggest this stuff, right? Because they're based off of the fact that they have to present what's proven on from whatever institution they reside in, right? So if that's not something that's being put out by them, they can't really go out there and go against that because they represent the community as a whole, right? And that's not to say that these people are right and they're wrong, okay? But what I'm saying is I understand why they don't want maybe don't want to is not the right way to put it, but can't necessarily have these kinds of conversations because it's contradictory, right? And I also, this is my own opinion, but from what I understand, the majority of what we have a foundation of for our medical system is based off of research from many, many, many years ago, right? And over time, right? And obviously those have been expanded upon. I'm not going to say that they just hold on to those and don't ever adjust it, right? But that's the basis of it all. And processed foods, I think, is relatively new, okay? So it would make sense to me that there's not a lot of data outside of just trends that we see now kind of catching up, right? Because that's a new thing, relative in the health world, I guess you could say. And I don't think it's like anything else. You're not going to see the side effects of it for many, many years, right? And so I think that's kind of what's happening right now is we're starting to see the side effects of a lot of this stuff that we weren't going to see until we'd had years of data, right? And so I don't put that on them. Like, what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? That's just my personal opinion on it. So, take that as you will. But some examples of processed foods. And, well, the definition of processed foods is that they've been modified from their natural state, usually to make them more convenient. Here are some examples of processed foods: breakfast cereals, sliced bread, flavored yogurts, processed meats, packaged baked goods, condiments, frozen fruits and vegetables, candy bars. Okay. From what I understand, preservatives are a big thing, right? Shelf stable. I watched this whole documentary on, well, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched a good chunk of it about cheese, the Kraft cheese or whatever, and the goal was to get shelf stable. And then I learned this whole thing about, like, it's not even, they had to basically make up a new classification for it because it's not technically cheese. I don't know. Crazy. Look into that stuff if you haven't done so. But I don't know. This is just kind of where my mind's been in the last little bit. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that any of this is foolproof, but it makes sense to me. Like, how many times you heard in your life, you are what you eat, right? We usually make jokes about that, right? But, I mean, that's probably true. So, the amount of chemicals put into stuff, especially in the manufacturing of some of these foods, it's crazy. It's crazy. And though I don't think that the purpose behind any of it is malicious. Like, I know that's a big thing, right? A lot of people get out there and they're like, they say they all the time, right? The days of the world are out to get you, and I get caught in that same propaganda rabbit hole just as much as anybody else. But when I actually have time to sit back and I think about it, right, and I look at it, I don't think that it's malicious in that they're just trying to make money, right? And they're trying to do so the most efficient way possible. And I really think that that's all it is. And as a result of that, we keep buying it. I mean, you want the stuff to go away, stop buying it. But I think the biggest problem is that a majority of people that they don't want it to go away. You know what I mean? They don't. So it's that simple. If we want them to stop putting this crap in our food, then we need to stop buying it, right? But then what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to starve? I don't know. And then you think about all the crap that's been given out for like humanitarian aid and all that stuff, because it's going to be the cheapest stuff. The government doesn't give high quality things, you know what I mean? So, unless it's issues, they give high quality issues, that's for sure. But like, they don't give out high quality stuff, you know what I mean? So, your humanitarian aid, your welfare systems, all those things, they're going to get the crappiest of the crappiest stuff. And I don't know. Like, I know that there's programs where they want you to like get like fresh fruits and vegetables and stuff. Which, by the way, I haven't really been doing this, but I'm gonna start now because cleaning your fruits and vegetables when you're buying from the store. I don't know. I'm not. I never really did that. But I washed some apples the other day, and I was quite surprised to see the amount of crap that came off. And yeah, I think that's going to be a staple, and I think it's just that education and stuff, man. Like, I mean, I obviously always heard it, right? But I didn't have people around me that were really doing it, for one, and for two, that's never really like a big push, right? And so like education on things is very important, and I think that that's going to start to change, But all this did was make me really think about, the crap my kids are eating at school. Really, to be honest with you, I mean, everything's kind of making me wonder, like the school system. I'm not a huge fan of it. I saw this video the other day where the guy was talking about how like one of his biggest regrets is that he let his kids go to public school, and I don't know. I kind of feel him on that a little bit. My stepsister, she homeschooled her kids, and I wouldn't say they're any better or worse than mine, right? But I do think that they have probably some different perspective at a minimum, and probably some more, I don't want to say life skills, but yeah, probably life skills that my kids might have missed out on as a result. And I don't know that that's really a huge deal, right? But you get the opportunity to have more of a direct influence, I think, and I think for that reasons, like, I kind of wish I maybe would have tried it at least, because that's the biggest thing you fight as a parent is the influence of your kids' friends, right? Your friends and setting, and the more and more, I don't recall this being a problem, but I also wasn't looking at it like this when I was in school. You tend to see some of the personal bias come through in some of these teachers, right? And I'm not saying it's a negative thing, right? But they feel a certain kind of way about whatever they feel a certain kind of way about, and you see that projected, I think, onto kids. And again, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? It's just, it could be, right? Like, I mean, you're banking on the fact that their values align with yours, and if they don't, that's where you run into problems. And I think that's where you have a lot of these social issues going on right now with the way people feel about some of the schools, right? But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, just crazy. I don't know, but I wanted to do this episode today. I had a day off. I don't know if my boss remembered I had the day off, but I did talk to him about it. My daughter's got this thing going on today, so yeah, my wife's with her grandmother. She's having cataract surgery, I think it is. And then we got this thing tonight, and so it'll be fun. But I had some downtime, and now it's about time to get things wrapped up and start getting my daughter ready for her stuff. She has to be there in about 2.5 hours, and that's a whole process. So, but I wanted to do this, man. I wanted to do this because the other thing, what I'm doing is Which, by the way, I should have brought this up, but I'm actually taking notes of everything that I'm trying and doing. And so I've got a whole breakdown of just kind of my medical history and how I feel at the moment, so what my observations are of myself, my aches and pains, and I'm just keeping a journal list basically of what I do throughout the day, just so I can see if anything's improving or getting worse. You know what I mean? I have something to kind of go back to. I don't know. It's kind of cool. Gives me something to do, occupy my mind. But I'll let you guys know. That's I'll have to be diligent about doing an update. Probably not every day, right? Obviously not every day because I can't even do a podcast every day. But not every day, and maybe a weekly thing. I don't know. Just to see. What I'm really hoping for is just to get a little bit more energy. I'm really drained lately, and alleviate some of this joint pain. But I think in order to do that, I need to definitely have a better diet. Because I was looking at this fasting stuff, and I started thinking to myself, like, I pretty much do a 24-hour fast anyways every day, because I usually only eat once a day, and if I do snack, it's very minimal and crap usually. But I drink a lot of water. I do drink coffee, but I don't really drink a lot of carbonated drinks anymore. I'll occasionally drink a Monster. I'll occasionally drink a Dr. Pepper. But for the most part, like, it's water. One thing I did do though, and this is the one thing that I saw online that I'm vouching for based off of my own personal experience with it. Okay, so I saw this video that was talking about headaches and migraines, right? And the guy said that there's basically like the lining around your brain is what causes your headaches and migraines. He used some fancier terminology than that, but if I understand correctly, the gist of it, that's kind of what he was saying, right? And one of the things that he said was that migraine patients were lacking sodium, and so they would increase the sodium content, and that made that lining happy basically, and their migraines would go away, right? And so I get a lot of headaches, a lot of them. I have light sensitivity, just explosions and things like that have done its toll on me, right? And as a result, I get a lot of headaches, a lot of them. So I started drinking Gatorlyte Zero, the lemon lime ones with zero sugar, for the sodium and electrolytes. And I try to drink one a day. And there's probably better beverages out there, but that's the one I chose just to try it out, and I've kind of stuck with it, right? I still get headaches, but not nearly as frequently and not nearly to the same extent. So it definitely didn't get rid of them, and I don't know that it can, to be fair, but it definitely reduced the quantity of them and what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Impact of them, I guess. I don't know. I almost said effectiveness, and I think that's definitely the wrong word. But no, I firmly will say that I think that's absolutely something that is, if you get headaches, that's something that's worth your attention. Just because I tried it and it's working for me. So that's just my opinion on it. Maybe it's a dehydration thing, but I don't think that it is, because I drink, obviously water is not going to just naturally hydrate you. I mean, it does, but I know there's more to it than just drinking water. Sorry, is all I'm trying to get at, right? But that one, I've suggested that to plenty of people, because I genuinely feel even better just like in drinking one of those in the morning. It just makes me feel a lot better. So that, I can't believe I forgot to talk about that, because that is one that I swear by. I came across that video, and I'm serious. Like, it makes me feel better, and it reduces the amount of headaches that I've gotten. So, and nothing else has really changed in my diet since I started doing that, right? Because I didn't start doing this until I'd already made the changes from drinking a lot less Monsters, drinking a lot less, sugary beverages. So nothing has really changed in my diet or my lifestyle. So, except for that. So, I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. I think that there's absolutely something something to that. So, anyways, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything that you guys have tried personally that you swear by, right? And I don't know. I'll keep you guys posted. I hope you enjoyed this. Let's see what I got coming up. Who knows? All right, I just kind of show up whenever I show up, which is probably not the best, and that's why I'm hopeful that I can stay consistent with this thing that I'm doing, because obviously, like, me and consistency is not a thing. Yeah, I don't know, but where can you find me? You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/average discussion, Instagram, average discussion, Twitter, or X, X at AVG discussion, Threads, average discussion. I don't know if you see the theme there. YouTube, youtube.com, channel is average discussion. Podcast is on Spreaker, iHeart, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean. I do have a Podbean one, but I have to upload it separately, I think. So it's whatever. But yeah, find it pretty much anywhere. So let your friends know. But more importantly, please, please, please like and share this stuff and comment, because I'm interested in what you guys think. And again, biggest thing I want to put out of this entire thing is I am not saying that any of this is going to work. Okay, I'm just giving you my personal experiences and the small amount of research that I've been able to find. And their suggestions. Biggest thing I want, like, their suggestions. Remember that. There's not any foolproof that these things are doing what they claim to be doing. It's just suggested that they might be doing those things. So I think if you're looking for a cure-all, this is not the place. Don't come here. I don't have a cure-all. If you're like me and you're just looking for something to hopefully help, right? Maybe give some improvement. Then hey, maybe this kind of stuff's worth looking into, you know. But it's definitely not going to cure you of anything. And if it does, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't come across anything that shows any solid proof of that, right? So I'm not going to say this stuff won't cure you. I'm just not going to say that it's going to cure you either. So, because again, I'm not a doctor. I'm doing secondhand research, and I'm looking at it from the lens of, I've done worse things in my life. How bad could this be, right? So, here we are, all right? I'm just going to give you the way it makes me feel, the things that I observe, and things that I see. So, I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Please, like I said, like, share, give a follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. I would like to start doing more lives there. I say more like I do any. All right, but I'd like to start doing lives, getting that video out there. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. As always, guys, I hope you have a great day. Please take care of yourself. Please take care of each other. And until next time, I'm out.